cars, it's just horrible.
Yeah, well, one of the cars we had that was working is now broken.
Oh, no.
Probably beyond repair.
Oh, that sucks, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's absolutely
I want you to picture a baseball field with, and it's important for this story that you picture the lights all the way around this baseball field. And now, there is a guy standing in the middle of this baseball field flying a remote control plane. And the remote control plane is going around the outside of the baseball field, and it's going rather fast. It's going about 40 or 50 miles an hour, fairly fast. And the plane gets a little too close to a light pole. And before you know it, all you hear is a sickening whack, and there is a stream of little pieces of styrofoam and motors and parts just fluttering out of the sky. So you might think, wow, that's really sad and really depressing, and why would somebody want to put themselves in a situation like that? But the thing is, flying remote control planes is absolutely fun. The nice thing about it is, unlike flying a real plane, if you crash, 1, you don't die, 2, nobody else dies, and 3, you don't crash a $100,000 airplane. So, if you want to build your own RC plane, there are 3 steps, because anything can be broken down into a 3-step process, right? So the first step is to find out what all you need to purchase, and then go ahead and purchase that. The second step is to come up with some sort of a design that you want to use for your plane. The third step is then to put it all together. So, to get started building your own flying wing, you need to purchase a motor, several servos, a battery, or 3 batteries, 4 batteries, it doesn't matter, a radio, a speed controller, and a charger for the battery. And once you have all of these purchased, you can spend probably in the neighborhood of around $80 on this, or up to $500 if you'd like. Now, if you're frugal like me, you'll get on a website called hobbyking.com and buy all this from China for a great deal. Like I said, the entire thing can be built for under $100. So, once you have all of your electronics purchased and assembled in a pile, you need to find something to build the plane out of. In this case, I used something called Dow protection board, which you get from Lowe's, and I spent $2.50 on this airframe, so it's very inexpensive. And once you have everything together, then you need to find some sort of design that you want to build. In this case, I used something called the Zagnut's Flying Wing. I didn't make that name up. And this has been around for 7 years or so when the first one came out, and nobody's really sure who came up with the first design, but the nice thing about this design is that there's a lot of room for innovation. And you can pretty much do whatever you want, and it'll still more or less fly. So, once you have your design, then you need to actually build it. Now, building these planes is pretty simple. However, there's a couple key things you need to do. First, using 1 sheet of foam, you need to lay out the design of each wing. And what you're going to do is have 2 pieces that are cut out to the shape, and then they're going to be glued together. But first, before you glue them together, after your pieces are cut out, you need to find out where the leading edge of the wing is going to be folded. And then put a piece of tape on the outside of the fold. On the inside of the fold, you crease it with a ruler, and then you can bend the wing over and it won't break. Otherwise, if you bend it without the tape or the crease, it breaks, which is bad. And then after you bend it, you glue in a spar made out of more of this foam into the cord of the wing, which enables it to have a little bit of flex and a little bit of give up and down, but overall it's very strong and very light. And that's important because you want your plane to be strong and you want it to be light. So, once you have the wings bent and you have your spars glued in, then you can go ahead and tape on your elevons, in this case, and these can be made out of more foam, they can be made out of balsa wood, some kind of light plastic. It really doesn't matter. The size, not real important. The shape, not real important. And then some sort of wingtip needs to be glued on. In this case, these need to be about twice as big as they are, unfortunately. So, once you have the airframe all assembled, then you can put in the motor. Now the motor just bolts onto the back somehow. You can glue it on, zip ties, tape it, glue it, whatever you want to do. Then you need to put in your servos and then cut some sort of battery compartment for all the electronics. And this can be as complicated or as simple as you like. You can put in balsa wood like I did around it. You can cut a hole and just kind of stuff everything in and put tape over it and hope that it flies. It doesn't really matter. And then once you have everything in it, then you need to balance it. And there's a saying that a nose-heavy plane flies poorly and a tail-heavy plane flies once, which means that if your plane is tail-heavy, it's not going to fly. So how you do that is you hang this from a string from the ceiling with a weight on the end, and as this plane, as the weight is moved forward and backwards, it moves this like a pendulum, and that weight crosses where the center of gravity should be. And you use the weight inside the plane to shift it back and forth to set up where it is in reality as opposed to where it should be. And so once you have your plane balanced and it's all assembled, then you can go outside and fly it. And the nice thing about flying one of these is you hold it in your hand, you give it power, and you just throw it up in the air, and away it goes. So, what you need to do is buy your equipment. You need to find some sort of material to build it out of. You need to actually build the plane, and in building it, you need to not forget to find out where your center of gravity should be, and then set your center of gravity. And then finally, when you're done, you can go outside and fly it. And I hope that as you fly one of these planes that you will find out what it is about flying that makes it so addictive and so incredibly fun. Thank you.